I was raised in a traditional Cheyenne home by my grandparents. And they were involved in the ceremony of the Native American Church, which uses the sacrament peyote. And from the age of 3, I was taken into this teepee for the prayers and meditations and healings that occurred. The imagery of those healings in a child's mind were profound. And as I grew into my teenage years, I continued the ceremonies, which then included the sun dance, which is another Cheyenne ceremony. And throughout my teenage life, I was surrounded and nurtured by the Cheyenne people, who are my people. I want to salute my brothers here. My people, the Cheyenne, greet you in peace and solidarity. Viva Colombia. Well, my life was immersed in ceremony and ritual as a child. And as I grew into manhood, I had the military. I was a U.S. Marine. And then after the Marines, I went to university. And it was in university that I began to seriously consider myself a poet. In fact, my first book of poetry was published in my second year as a student in university. And I was one of 19 Native American poets discovered by Harper & Row Publishers of New York, and I appeared in the very first Native American anthology with 18 other Native poets, carriers of the dream wheel. That said, the influence of ritual and ceremony have stayed with me all of my life, and I return home every year for ceremonies. I'm fluent in my language. I carry the medicines that I have earned in ritual and ceremony, and I live my life as a poet and a cultural activist. Here in Syria, all the gods are dead. Children fold the brightest parts of themselves inside as if they are still alive. I come from a community that is traumatized by American injustice. Regarding tribal life in America, most recently at Standing Rock in South Dakota, where thousands of Native Americans gathered to protect a river. My life as a poet and as a person is dedicated to resisting oppression of any form that would harm indigenous people. In my Cheyenne tribe, who has suffered 500 years of oppression by an invader government, we say, the heart of our nation will not be on the ground so long as the hearts of our women are alive. This poem for Berta Chichares, a Honduran activist who lost her life defending a river. A river has no name. The sound it knows of wind and moonlight, its singing self. its long memory, bereft of longing, full of human invasion, human crossings, animal crossings, rests in its essential movements. Shaman, no, it is possible for a river to sing inside a soul. It is you, Berta Cecheres. There are a lot of poets who don't do that kind of work, that kind of mythological searching in their own lives. The poets who I respect are involved with not only their own cultural references, but involved in the world community of indigenous people. And it is those poets who I admire and who I read and who have influenced me. I think the purpose of poetry is an ancient calling. The first speakers coming out of the cave era, interpreting storms and wind and the phenomena of weather and the phenomenon of survivance, were the first poets, the first seers, and they were considered sacred beings. They were considered the doctors, the healers, both women and men in their specific cultures. Poetry belongs to that origin, and it is to that that I feel honored to be a poet.